Yeah, they suck. And people have those big ones that will sound like locks in water and something like that. Yeah.
When did you pick up on
My dog is a little bit why are you doing that?
Alright, let's keep on your attention, please. Okay, so on Friday we had one of the professors come in and talk to us about public speaking. And we learned about like the skills that we need for a good oral or written presentation. And for oral communication or oral presentations, they're more beneficial than written presentations because you can explain yourself a little bit more. And then we did the public speaker compel exercise where a bunch of us like got up and did really good or really bad speeches, and we kind of like analyzed why they were good and why they were bad. And then he also talked about audience analysis when you're addressing students or teachers or vice versa. You just want to make sure that you have like a good grasp on who you're talking to so you can get the right information out. We talked about manuscript styles and how they're kind of not that great because you're kind of always looking at the paper, not making good eye contact. Delivery, just like how you're speaking and making sure you're not like monotone and you're enthusiastic about what you're doing. And then we just talked about your intro, body, and conclusion to our project and like how we can really grasp our audience and what to talk about. Great. Alright, so we're going to spend the first half of class talking about these first two chapters that we read, chapters 4 and 5. And then we'll take a brief break and talk about what's coming up in the near future. So, any initial reactions to chapter 4, which focus on human growth hormone? Maybe even a stronger reaction to chapter 5 about homosexuality. Yes, Luke.
I just thought it was interesting how they talked about how like if everybody used enhancement, how it wouldn't be enhancement anymore, but like a necessity, like in competitions at least. So you kind of like
and how it like raises the norms for everyone. Like normal is now like this is sort of like medicalized normal. Like, everyone's striving to like have the personal gains and whatever, but they themselves are only being forced by competition of other people who are also taking medicines and things like that, who are so normal.
That's really a good point because we consider normal to be average, and you've got people from the lower end of the scale and you've got people at the higher end of the scale, and a lot more people somewhere in the middle. The mean, the average, is somewhere in the middle, but if you start to bring the lower people up, then that average also moves up. So if you have people in the middle trying to become just as good as people at the top, everything's pulling normal, what we define as normal, higher.
On page 85, there's a quote about the runners, and I thought that was interesting because, like, I don't know, as like an athlete myself, I don't really think of like wanting to just take a drug to like help boost, yeah, and then die in a year. Like I don't really think it's yeah. It starts with, while many drugs create a bodily risk, it is worth noting that athletes train for performance, not health. That's like the part that I talked about. And then
top runners. Each was asked if he could take a pill that would allow him to be able to advance to Olympic champion, but kill him in a year. Over half the runners said they would take the pill. So I just thought that was kind of interesting that they're like willing to just gain this title and die.
Did anyone notice about that quote? Something to think about. Survey of the 100 top runners, not just 100 random runners who would be out, say, on the cross-country team here at St. Lawrence, but these are top runners who have already been training and dedicating their lives, their free time, their resources into running. So maybe these people have different ambition than the average person. Katie, in your paper, you wrote kind of difference between treatment and enhancement. How can you really figure that out? It seems that we're trying to reinforce social stigmas. Can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, when I was talking about people, like a lot of people wanting to lose, people have to not be so like short. It's like, there's a pretty mentioned some statistics about how everybody has gotten taller as like an average, so all of the shorter people want to be taller as well. So it's become like a stigma, like, oh, short people are, they suddenly looked down on. So I guess they're really in. That's like a stigma, so people want to be normal and they use enhancements to be. It's also pretty interesting though, because I think there was a quote about a study that said that like that they compare like children who had short stature to like who were treated for it and took like the drug, and then one that like actually didn't, and their parents treated them no differently, and they were like a lot more positive, and they had like a greater outlook, like an attitude than the ones who took the medicine, because they were raised with the norms that like they weren't any different from anyone else. So which is pretty.
Yeah, and that makes sense too. So your parents that give them medicine obviously can be source of problem. So like they kind of put that in the
Yeah.
And also there's this quote on page 81 that was interesting where they say, as one doctor puts it, short stature became a disease and unlimited amounts of growth hormone became available. Which you don't kind of see that as like usually there's a condition to do drugs that are like on the market, things like fine conditions that are medicalized.
I mean, how do you really define short? It's all just a comparison, right? I mean, even the shortest people today, relative to 100 years ago, if someone looked at statistics, the human race is getting taller. Maybe it's because the human race is more like, the taller people are more likely to reproduce successfully, or maybe just because it's more attractive, and so those people reproduce. But how tall do we want to get? I mean, where do you see the human race in 200 years, in 300 years? Do you think we're just going to continue to get taller? Is there going to be a point where we're too tall?
How much taller have we gotten in the past like 100 years?
I think the average for a man used to be, I don't know how long ago, but somewhere I heard 5'5", and the average now is about 5'8", I believe.
I think it was more, but
What was that?
I think it was, yeah, it was like 5'10",
5'10" now? Yeah. I mean, it's almost half a foot, probably within 200 or 300 years.
Well, I think that part of that kind of depends on where you live though. Like, I was in Costa Rica last February, and the guys there were as tall as me, maybe 3 inches taller, and I'm only 5'2". Like, and that's like the norm. They're all very short. And like the women are under 5 feet tall. So I think that, I mean, definitely in the States I would say that, but a lot of places I still feel like